What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Fantasy Effect podcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube, subscribe, leave comments if you want to say some nice things about us. If you want to say bad things, that's okay too. I probably won't read them because I don't want to hear you be rude, but leave the comments anyways. We are just past Halloween. We are deep into November here. Well, we're 5 days into November. Deep was a strong word choice. But deep into the
Slow
season is
down.
what I was going for. I think we kind of have a good feel of who's good, who's not in the NFL. I think we have a large enough sample size now. We can kind of start making some more collective takes, updating some rankings now that we're like basically at the midway point of the season. We just had a crazy trade deadline. I feel like we had more trades this year than we normally do. Maybe that was just me, but I feel like we did. We got the first college football playoff rankings on Tuesday, which was exciting. But Hellar, what's up, man?
What's up? I was just gonna say about the trades. I feel like there was a little more like noteworthy names that have been thrown out there, and then some were actually moved. And then also, the Cowboys made some questionable, trades or one
Doesn't
trade.
sound like them.
Yeah, and then I think different teams made trades that we aren't, don't typically see. And then some of the obvious ones didn't happen. Like we'll talk about it later, but like a Breece Hall, right? Some of the obvious ones that should have happened didn't happen. So, but yeah, no, I think it was a lot to talk about. There's going to be quite a bit of fallout here. I think there's a couple guys that kind of highlight for me that I'm kind of a little bit worried about, and then there's other guys on the flip side that I'm like, okay, cool. We should see what they can really do now.
Yeah. I want real quick. I want to get your take on it. I know this is a dynasty podcast, but I wanted to talk more. The college football playoff rankings. Do you think they got it right? Wrong?
I mean, they never get it right. But fair. I felt like it was like pretty chalk, right? I didn't really think there was anything outlandish. So I guess in terms of that, they probably got it right. But also, like, I think it's stupid how early. I know they have to do it early, but I think it is a little stupid to have it this early. It doesn't mean much. There's going to be more losses for the teams that are up high. There's going to be, definitely some upsets, things like that. So
that's the thing. There's still like 4 weeks of the regular season plus the conference championship games before, and the Army Navy game. Don't forget that. So, yeah, we'll see. I was mostly just fishing because I was excited. So they have Notre Dame projected to play at BYU, which is like an hour away from my house. So I was able to go to that game. So I was excited. So I hope that stays. But
if it stays, I'll fly myself up there.
Heck yeah, dude. Let's go.
I am going to USC. I'm sure. I am going to USC Northwestern on Friday. So that should be fun. I got some free tickets. So
heck yeah, dude. The Coliseum's a fun place. Have you ever been?
I've been once or twice, actually. Once for a USC game and once for a Rams game.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I've been to the Coliseum a couple times. So once USC and Pete Carroll just ran rampant over Notre Dame. Another time Notre Dame beat them. And so I had mixed emotions there.
I can't believe I almost forgot one of them. I went to USC Oregon. I can't remember the year. Maybe it was like 2011 or 2010. It was great. If I remember correctly. I remember seeing Aaron Andrews just like right there. It was fun.
Nice. That was peak Aaron Andrews, I would assume. All right. Well, before we get ourselves into trouble, some news, more injuries, dude. Jaden Daniels looks like he's going to be out for the season with an elbow. I think the MRI came back negative. He didn't break it, but it looked bad. I remember I think I was putting my kids down or something, and I came back and people were like, "Oh man, Jaden Daniels." I was like, "Oh no, what happened?" I pulled up on Twitter and I was like, "I shouldn't have watched that. That was gross." Poor dude's elbow went the wrong way. That's probably.
I didn't watch much of the second half, but yeah, I did unfortunately see that, and the first thing that comes to mind is like, why is he in the game? But you can always ask that question for anybody when there's, I wouldn't say anybody, but with an injury, that's usually, and there's a lopsided score, that's usually the first thing that comes up. But I mean, you can make an argument either way. I think it's just unfortunate, right? It's just the nature of the game and the nature of the type of player he is with running the ball. He can get injured on any play.
He can. He's not, he's pretty a thin frame is probably the best
Yeah.
way to phrase it, just to begin with. I've seen a lot of people, and it's an easy comp to make. We were talking about it a little bit before the show, but basically they're calling him the next RG3. I think that's a little like hyperbolic. I don't think it's quite that bad, but I have seen just on multiple sites he's starting to go down. He was pretty clearly the quarterback 2 for the longest time,
Yep.
and now I think he's QB6 on Fantasy Calc. He's QB4 on Keep Trade Cut. I am going to move him down as well. I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to place him. It's probably going to be in that 4 or 5 range.
I can't really put him any lower than 5, right? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes is still in my top 5. Like, I can't really default that or go against that. And then, maybe Drake May is ahead of him. I think there's still a little question marks there. But I mean, when he's on the field, Jaden Daniels, he is definitely a top 2, top 3. I probably would take Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson before him in a startup today. But after that, like, I don't really put too much weight in him being like injury prone or the next RG3. Like, there's nobody. I know it's Marcus Mariota behind him, and the team could operate well, right? But they're not going to go forward with Marcus Mariota like they had Kirk Cousins when the RG3 was there. So, like, I think it's a much different situation. And for me, just Jaden Daniels is very good. Like, he was putting up good numbers with, his top wide receiver being Deebo Samuel. There's just been a lot of, bad juju with the Commanders. And I think they were like kind of a top candidate for a regression, right? They just played out of their world last year. And I just think any couple injuries there, like, that's going to be rough for the offense. And so I just think, it's tough Bill's been doing great, but for me, it's just tough when your position players are really pretty mediocre.
Yeah, they haven't been good. Like, they've reliant a lot on a lot of veterans, like like Zach Ertz and Deebo he's been fine, but he's still not like the Deebo that we used to see in San Francisco. Terry McLaurin's been out after he got paid. He basically just pieced out, which is what it is. But Jaden Daniels has been awesome when he's on the field. This is now. He didn't really get hurt a ton last year, so I wouldn't say he's like injury prone. And he, I hate to overreact, but I also am curious. Like, there's a lot of teams out there that probably had Jaden Daniels and also maybe Tucker Kraft, and we can talk about him in a second too, that might have had them both on the same team, that were probably in first place, and now they're like, well, crap, what do you do? And I think that's where I wanted to kind of start, or I guess not start, but continue the conversation is like, let's say you have Jaden Daniels, you're in a super flex league, you need a quarterback. How far down are you willing to go? And what are some other like quarterback pivots that you could do here?
So,
assuming you can't get Mariota.
Yeah, so the one guy that came to mind before I was looking at rankings and things was Drake May. He's playing super well, right? He was at the beginning of the season, probably right outside the top 10 for quarterbacks, maybe right on the cusp, and he's just been ascending, each week, right? And I think if people were not too much out on Jaden Daniels, you can make that pivot most likely straight up. But, talking a little bit with you before the show and looking things up, he is creeping back up. So I'm thinking now you're probably going to have to add to Jaden Daniels to get to Drake May. One's playing super well, one's injured. That's the biggest thing. Another pivot, I was like kind of just looking at rankings and things. I think maybe moving to Justin Herbert or like maybe Bo Nix. I know this is crazy, but Jackson Dart even is playing super, super well. I would hope to get a plus on the Jackson Dart side, but
so
I don't know if you will. That
because I was just looking up some trades from Fantasy Calc, and the Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart trade that went down today was Jaden Daniels in the 26th second for Jackson Dart. So you had to add a second to get to Jackson Dart, which that feels a little excessive.
Yeah. So
desperation makes you do crazy things, and I get it.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to swallow, though. Like,
yeah, because I still have question marks of Jackson Dart being a starter year in, year out, right? There's same question marks for Jaden Daniels, but we've seen him do it for a full year. So I always caution when, trading people right after they get injured. I know there's a point of like, okay, I need to get, like, I have a team with Jaden Daniels and Tucker Kraft, right? Thankfully, I have quite a bit of other pieces there. And so like I'm not really going out and moving either of those guys on that team, right? But if I am, like, those are my top guys. That was my second quarterback of Jaden Daniels, and then Tucker Kraft. And after that, I don't really have much. I lost out on Musgrave. Then yeah, you can make a trade like the one you have on here for Hawkinson and a second for Tucker Kraft. I think that's fine. I do have a little worry with TJ Hawkinson, but I do know he had a solid game last week, and it should be a little bit better with JJ McCarthy. But I just always caution making these trades right after someone gets injured.
I agree. So let me tell you about the Hawkinson deal. I commented in the chat too, like right after I did it, I was like, man, I can't tell you guys how much I hate myself for doing this. But it's a 12-team league. It's start 2 tight ends. I didn't have a single other healthy tight end that wasn't on bye other than, I want to say I'm starting. I think it's starting Dallas Goedert or maybe Mark Andrews, one of the two. I was gonna have an empty spot. I think I'm in second in that league, and I'm like, I want to say like 5th or so in like points scored. That second, which happens to be yours. Your team is not to be rude, but your team is not good. Is probably the best way to put it. And that right now, that would be the 201 if the season ended today.
What league is that? Is that
it's one of our Fantasy Effect listener leagues.
Yeah, so probably number 4. Yeah, I think I won a couple years ago, and my team is just dog water. But yeah, with a two tight end, I'm 100% okay with that. Like I said, though, I'm a little worried about Hawkinson, but tight end, it's very hard to get anybody off the waiver wire, and it's just you can't do it. It's super tough. So I get it 100%. Oh yeah, looking at this team, I'll be lucky to win another game all year. But yeah, I think I think it's fine. 201 and Hawkinson for Kraft. But I'll always stand on the I always try not to make trades right after somebody gets injured. That's kind of their low. Obviously, this is it's the lowest point, but I still obviously you want to make trades to fill the gaps, right? But it's really hard when you have players like Jaden Daniels and Tucker Kraft.
That's the thing. It's hard. So Tucker Kraft, like Jaden Daniels, I'm not worried with it was his non-throwing elbow. So not worried about him long term next year. Tucker Kraft. So early November, torn ACL. The way Romeo Dobbs talked about him, it was like he died. I don't know if you saw that.
It was hilarious.
It was wild, dude. Yeah. He's like, yeah, Tucker's in a better place. I'm like, brother, he tore his ACL. He's still with us. But generally speaking, I'd say about 9 months is when they kind of get back on the field. If you work backwards from November, that's early August. So that's right at the start of training camp. There's a chance he starts next year on the PUP, which is a little concerning. There's a chance he's not really himself again until about Halloween next year. Also a little bit concerning. That's why also, just side tangent, it was depressing going through starting my lineups this week and realizing how much Tucker Kraft I had on my teams. Are you worried at all long term with Tucker Kraft? I think eventually he'll be fine, but we've seen TJ Hawkinson had a pretty bad knee injury and he hasn't really looked the same. Some of the tight ends, because they're not just running, they also have to use their knees to block. It's a different kind of recovery. Are you concerned at all for Tucker Kraft here?
Yeah, I have mild concerns, especially when he got injured, right? End of October. It's pretty rough, pretty tough. Actually, beginning of November. It was November 1st, I think, or 2nd.
It's basically the same thing. It was the day for Halloween.
But I think the landscape of tight ends, he can't really, get lower than tight end 10, I would say, even with him missing time next year, right? So I worry, but not too much, right? If I have another usable starter, as long as it's not 2 tight end, I'm most likely going to hold on to Tucker Kraft, right? The landscape of tight end changes, honestly, week out, or even from 10 a.m. to the 1 p.m. games. I'm in the West Coast.
Scored that week.
Yeah, right. I'm looking at Fantasy Calc I'm looking at Keep Trade Cut actually, and Gadsden's all the way up to tight end 6. we're just overreacting with tight ends, I feel like, more than any other position.
Well,
And
that's
I understand
good.
he's been great. But for me, that's just like too much, right? So I just think the landscape of tight ends, when Tucker Kraft, he's extremely good. The top pass catcher in Green Bay, Jordan Love's favorite target, like all those things. Like, yeah, he may miss a couple games next year, but when he comes back, as long as he's coming back,
There's
fully healthy, he should be back in the top 5, top 3 tight end.
There's also the narrative, and whether it's true or not, I'm sure we're going to hear about it next offseason, that Tucker Kraft did all this without Jaden Reed. Because Jaden Reed, if you remember, I think he broke his collarbone week like the first drive of week 2.
Yeah.
And so Tucker Kraft did all this without Jaden Reed. Is going to be concerned about going into next year. Is Tucker Kraft, is he all the way back? Can he do this with Jaden Reed there too? Because Jaden Reed, I mean, like him or not, like he is a kind of a key part of that Green Bay offense.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of concern. And one of the pivots I was just looking at, would you do, it sounds like, well, two questions. Tucker Kraft for Aronde Gadsden straight up, which would you do that?
Yes, I would, because I already have a ton of him. So I would. I do have a little bit of question marks there with even Gadsden. But I think he can continue to get better. He's newer to the tight end position, coming from a wide receiver. So for me, I think there's more room for growth there. And I think when you're pivoting someone from there to like a young rookie tight end that has the ability to increase in value still, I think that's a really good pivot.
Would you do Tucker Kraft for Harold Fannin? Or is that too far for you?
I would want a plus on the Fannin side, but like looking at the rankings, Fannin's he's at tight end 8 versus tight end 5. Fannin is like their main target there outside of Quinshon Judkins. I know Njoku's still there, but like the two young guys are I wouldn't say future, but like the future of their offense there. Not all they need, but if they get a quarterback and move forward with those two guys and get some wide receivers and get a whole team, then I think they are in a good spot. So if I could get a plus with Fannin, yeah, I would do that as well.
I was gonna say, how long have the Browns been saying if they just had a quarterback for? It's probably been
as I said it, I was like, oh wait, yeah, they'd probably just need
it's
a whole
easier
new
said
team.
than done.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that one up is because I was looking a little bit earlier today on some potential free agents next year, and Njoku is a scheduled free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent next year. If he's gone, and Harold Fannin is an ascending player, that might be one of those ones now where you look at it and go, man, I probably left some value on the table, but this time next year you might be like, hell yeah, dude, Harold Fannin's a bad boy.
And that's why I said maybe if I could get a plus there, but yeah, I might do that one straight up as well. Like, younger tight ends, it's kind of where you want to go, right? And it's because it takes a little bit of time for them to get up to speed for the NFL. And if they're already doing well, I think even more reason to go and buy.
For sure. 2 other quarterbacks got hurt this week. They're not pictured here, but I wanted to just chat on them. CJ Stroud, he's in the concussion protocol. He got lit up. I would not be surprised if he missed this week. Davis Mills played fairly well when he came in. I think CJ Stroud, you probably want to be cautious with who you think is your franchise quarterback. And then Kyler Murray today, it sounds like he just went on IR, so he's going to miss at least 4 more games. They're saying it's a foot injury. Man, I don't fully buy it personally. Well, I think if Brissett was playing bad, they'd be like, no, Kyler's going in there. But I think Brissett's playing well enough. And honestly, the offense has looked better with Brissett in there than it has with Kyler. And so I felt like one of those things was like, yeah, let's make sure you're like all the way healthy, and maybe they trade him. I don't know, but maybe I'm reading into the tea leaves too much. What were your thoughts there on that?
I think in terms of trading him or things like that, his contract is quite a bit crazy for that to happen. But we've always seen crazy things happen before. But yeah, we kind of talked about it in the game day chat on Monday. It was Monday night, I think it was. And the Cardinals offense looked so much better, right? And a lot of people are like, well, they're playing the Cowboys and whatever. Great. But Brissett played the week before, or I think 2 weeks before, because they had their bye. And, the offense just looks a lot better, right? And so I think they're kind of using that injury as a bit of a crutch to be like, okay, let's see if Brissett can continue with this, and then if they need to, Kyler Murray might be shut down for the season or whatever type of thing. I don't think we'll ever hear him actually being benched. But I do think
No, they're not
there's
going to
going to be
say
some
it. But
shakeup this offseason,
I think
or
that's what
either
happened.
by cutting them, moving him, whatever, right? So unfortunately, I just don't think Kyler is it. I think that's something we've talked about before. I think the biggest thing with him is the height, right? He can't really see over the offensive line. I know that's a joke a lot of times, but it's pretty simple. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really, really good wide receiver, and Kyler can't put the ball where he needs to for Marvin Harrison Jr. to be successful, right? And so we saw it night and day, right? He's an extremely good route runner. Marvin Harrison is, and I think he can be an extremely good wide receiver if you had somebody other than Kyler Murray.
No, I agree 100%. I'm curious. I was trying to think about what to do with Kyler. Like, if you can acquire him at a depressed value. I know the quarterback class next year doesn't look overly promising, and I think Kyler, he's gonna find, whether it's in Arizona, whether it's somewhere else, he's gonna start somewhere, right? Like, can you acquire for? Do you think you could acquire for like a late first right now, and then try to flip him in the offseason, even if you don't have any intention of ever starting him? But I think him being back healthy and starting for somewhere, maybe it's a different team, maybe it's Arizona again, but like that, you can get a better value. Like, so the rationale there is like, let me send a late 26 first for Kyler this year. Next offseason, I send Kyler back to someone else for a 27 first. Hope it's earlier than the pick I gave up, and hope that maybe the 27 class ends up being as good as advertised over the 26 class, and just try to net a little bit of value. Is that getting too cute, or what do you think about Kyler there?
I was going to say it's a lot of hoping with Kyler, but I like the
There's a lot
sentiment,
of
right?
hoping.
If now we know he's not going to play for another 4 weeks, okay, let me go out and maybe see if I can acquire Kyler on a team that is not doing well, right? If I have 26 first or whatever, I have a team in my mind that I have, I think, 4 firsts, and like I'm not
Humble
going to
brag.
use all those first on the 26 class, right? I'm going to try to move those for either a player or whatever, right? So I think that is a good sentiment, but on for my thing is I just don't believe in Kyler, right? Even if he goes to another
I don't
team,
either.
right? Yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen. We've seen it before that players move to another team and they do well, but I just think there's too many things going against him for him to end up being a good quarterback in the NFL.
The thing with Kyler too is that like he's always been able to run. And early in his career that propped up a ton of his value. He doesn't
Yeah.
really run a ton anymore, and
Yep.
now you're basically relying on him as a pure pocket passer. But he's not that. Like, he's fine if he's kind of throwing, off platform when there's the threat of the run. Defenses aren't really respecting it anymore, and he's just not running. And I think that's
Yep.
a big problem with his game. And it sounds like I remember hearing reports a couple weeks ago where like some coaches were like, some weeks you just like, yeah, I don't want to run this week, coach, and they just kind of had to figure it out. Which just goes back to an attitude problem thing. So
Yep. He's always had it, right? That's always
yeah,
been an issue with him, and I think that's why he doesn't succeed, right? He probably doesn't put the work in. I'm just assuming here, doesn't put the work in. But if we hear things of him not wanting to run this week in a price, like that tells me all I need to know, right? He's not a grinder, not someone that goes out and tries to get better every week. And to me, I think that just catches up really quick. And yeah, I think we can go out and try to acquire at a cheaper value and then hopefully turn him around when he goes and will end up probably starting next year. I think that's fine to do. But I still think there's a possibility that you can get better value from that 26 class than a Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's one of those where, like, in theory, it makes sense, but at the end of the day, I don't want to get stuck holding the Kyler
Yeah.
bag either, because I just really don't believe in him long term.
Yep. I don't have many, thankfully, but I do have one too many. So it's
I have a
unfortunate.
handful.
That one team
Unfortunately, I
that
have them
the
where I
one
could.
team you had on our fantasy effect 4, I have him. I have him and Joe Burrow, and
I think you have
yeah,
neighbors in that one too, don't you?
yeah, I think I have Malik Neighbors as well. Yeah,
It's no surprise your team isn't winning many games this year.
it's a bad time.
I have all of your good players are currently on IR.
Yeah.
All right, so some real life NFL trades. There was, I think, a lot of the big profile trades were defensive.
Yep.
Like I know Sauce Gardner moved from the Jets to the Colts. That to me, I think had
Yeah, we can.
some implications on Daniel Jones more so
Yeah.
than I think it was on Sauce Gardner and the Colts. I just think you don't make a move like that unless you're going to double down and sign Daniel Jones
Yeah.
as a long term quarterback, which I think they will. But these two, the two wide receivers on the move, Jacoby Myers went to Jacksonville. Jacksonville was desperate for a wide receiver that actually caught the ball. Their GM today was like, yeah, his superpower is not dropping it. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
or
running
him
a route
being,
or
yeah,
open.
actually not being injured.
I'm excited for Jacoby Myers on the
Yeah.
Jaguars. He's a really good player. He always has been. He's just been stuck on crappy teams. The Raiders have been awful when he's been there. But he was on the Patriots post Brady when they suck too. Like, I don't know if Jacksonville's like good, but it's probably the best team he's been on.
Yeah.
I'm
I was
curious to see
hoping
how he does, but
I was really hoping he went to the Bills,
sure.
or back to the Patriots. But I think this is still a fine spot. Trevor Lawrence is who he is. I
Yeah.
don't know if the Jaguars are good, but I do think this is going to help a lot. I know Brian Thomas Jr. is not healthy per se. Got that wrist injury and things like that. But I like the
Yeah.
move for the Jaguars. I like the move for Jacoby Myers as well. I'm hoping we can get, like, he doesn't have much competition, right? He'll be the second wide receiver 2, right behind Brian Thomas Jr. And then think about all three of them when Travis Hunter's healthy. That receiving core is really good, right? They also have like Parker Washington and a couple other guys as well. So like, I think this is really good for Jacoby Myers, and I also think it's good for Trevor Lawrence, right? I think Jacoby Myers actually will catch the ball, so it should
Hopefully.
be really good for Trevor Lawrence, hopefully.
Yeah, he should catch the ball. If he all of a sudden starts dropping, then it's like we need the
Yeah,
FBI down there to investigate some gambling issues. I don't know what's going on. If all of a sudden they
yep.
start dropping everything again. Are you worried about Jacoby Myers like starting him this week? It's a new team. He's gonna be on a short week. Are you concerned at all with that?
Yes, I'm worried, but the way how
You
many
also have a choice.
injuries, exactly, yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like, with the amount of injuries that we have this year, it happens every year, but just like kind of where we're at with buys, injuries, everything. I noticed his projection is a lot lower, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense. Typically, you would want to not start someone on their first week on a new team. But I don't think you're going to have an
you have
option
a
outside,
choice.
right? If I think back to this season's like off season's startups, he was going as a, wider, like wide receiver 2, 3 in your lineup, right? If you kind of waited a
Yeah.
little bit more solely on the wide receiver 3, everyone was thinking, oh, sweet, he's option number 2 in Oakland, in Las Vegas. So like, I don't know, it's tough, but yeah, I'm firing him up. I have to.
Yeah, I kind of do too. To me, I think there's a couple interesting pieces here outside of Jacoby Myers, but with him leaving, obviously Brock Bowers is going to get
Oh
just
yeah,
like an ungodly target share. But I think Trey Tucker is going to be
yes,
kind of the featured wide receiver they try to force feed. But then also, like, do we finally get to see what Jack Betch can do? And is I don't know if he's good or not, but I think we're going to be able to at least see this back half of the year to be like, okay, did I waste a second round pick on him last year, or is there something here?
yep.
Do you have a lean one way or the other if he's good or just a turd?
Yeah, I don't. I think there's not enough like volume, or there's not enough tape like in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL for us to know, right? I do think this is, I don't want to say really good, but this is good for Trey Tucker. We know he's been good even with Jacoby Myers
Tucker's been
around. I
good.
know
Yeah.
he's been good, really good when Jacoby Myers is out. And I think we're going to get more of multiple touchdown games from Brock Bowers. He's going to be peppered.
That's
So
all I
if
have.
anything, it's yeah, exactly. It's all they have, and I think Genty might start to get a little more work. Obviously, like I think that is more on the offensive line. But yeah, I think we'll definitely know soon if Jack Betch is any good.
Yeah, I hope I I hope he's at least serviceable, right? Like even if he's not like great, at least he's not like I just hope he's a guy that you can be like, okay, I have him on my roster. If like I need to during like heavy bye weeks and some injuries, I can throw him in my flex. He's not gonna like kill me, right? Like that's what I'm really kind of hoping for as like a bare minimum. Um, Genty, I will say the threat of a passing game might help open up some running lanes for him, and I really hope it does because I don't think he's been bad, but that team has just been so bad, it's dragged him down. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah, that's
we'll definitely know if Jack Betch is any good. Like outside of Brock Bowers, it's him. Tyler Lockett's there. Uh, Trey Tucker's there. The other guy they drafted this year, I can't.
Dante
Deontay
Thornton.
Thornton. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude
So he's gonna be used. So we're gonna
isn't good.
we're gonna find out quickly if Betch is any good. And I mean, unfortunately, he has the TCU curse. But hopefully he can.
Someone's got to break it eventually.
Yeah, he's gonna break that.
Um,
But I'm not really putting too many eggs in that basket. If you got him, you just hope that he turns out to be okay.
Rashid Shaheed, who was the other one that was the other wide receiver traded. He went to Seattle. I think it's a really good spot for them. Seattle,
Yeah.
I think they needed some reinforcements there outside of JSN. Cooper Kupp has been kind of a shell of himself. He was hurt. I mean, they were throwing to Cody White, and I think Torrey Horton was coming on nicely. To me, this is interesting because it feels like they're almost like a Shaheed and Horton are almost like a 1-for-1 swap of each other, which felt a little redundant, but I will say Shaheed knows the Clint Kubiak offense. He was there
Yep.
in New Orleans with them last year. So hopefully he has some more like I feel more confident in him kind of continuing his role in Seattle than I do Jacoby learning a new offense in Jacksonville.
Exactly.
Um
Yeah, I
this
would
is
say.
a bit of a bummer for Torrey Horton though, because there was some hype. People were steaming him up this week.
Yeah, I got a bunch of offers to trade him away, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hold him. I wish I would have moved him now, but you never would have known if, like, obviously there's rumors and stuff, but you never know. But yeah, I do think this is a big bummer for Horton. And then also this kind of, I know they don't do the same thing, but to me, it means that Cooper Kupp is probably going to be out for a little bit longer.
I think so too.
So, but I mean, we saw what Torrey Horton is. So I think they just were like, okay, we need an upgrade there. We can't just continue with who we have. Right. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do feel much more comfortable with Shaheed kind of stepping in with Seattle than I do Jacoby Myers. It might take a couple of weeks for Myers versus Shaheed can, break free and have a long touchdown any week, to be honest.
No, for sure. I think on the New Orleans side of the house, like Jawan Johnson and then Chris Olave is going to get
Yep.
like just an unholy amount of targets in New Orleans. He already
Totally.
had a super high target share, but like now I mean, it's him and
Yeah.
God, dude, I don't know who their other
Devon
receivers. I think Brandon
Vele
Cooks is
and
still there. Vele is
yeah,
still there, but like it's ugly,
Cooks.
dude.
But
I think Kevin
yes.
Austin is out there. Like it's an ugly group of receivers outside of
Well,
Olave. And then the Jets, dude, they cleaned house. They left one. It was like that scene
two.
out of Batman with Garrett Wilson. It was like that scene where he was like, they expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. And then it's Brees Hall. He got left, and supposedly there was an offer out. There was a rumor that Kansas City offered him a fourth, and the Jets said they wanted a third, and Kansas City said no, it's not worth it. Which that's a little telling on Brees Hall that like a team like Kansas City who really desperately needs a running back didn't want to give up a third round pick. Like that felt a little like not awesome. Because that's the same franchise that gave up a third to get freaking what's his face? He's a rapper now. Kadarius Toney out of the Giants. So it's like I don't know. That's where you draw the line. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the same sentiment of like I'll just pick on my own team, but the Rams paying $10 million for Tutu Atwell, but then they're kind of nickel and diming for their running back Kyron Williams. Like I know there's issues there, but like I think it's just the running back sentiment, but it makes, for me, I'm with you. Like, it makes no sense. Why would you like wait or not give that third to get Brees Hall when you do the same thing for a wide receiver that's not even on your team anymore? So, but I do think with running backs, it's, well, I don't know. You can make the argument anywhere, right? There's always a next man up. So I don't know. I guess the thirds are a little more valuable than a fourth, obviously. But I do think this is a big bummer to have Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson still there. I know they do have some good like pieces though. Mason Taylor, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, right? So I'm
That's about the end of the
hoping.
list.
Yeah, that's I was going to wrap it up there. But for me, this kind of tells me like, okay, Justin Fields is probably not going to be there next year.
Yeah, they're
They've
drafting
just,
one. They got to.
yeah,
Right?
they're just
Like,
loading up on draft picks, and maybe if they can get Justin Fields for cheap again next year, because they have quite a few in 27 as well. I think 2 firsts, or 3 possibly. So, but yeah, I think for the most part, Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor are still going to be usable. But I think just it's unfortunate for Brees Hall.
Are you worried about Brees Hall? So like the running back landscape, by the way, after you get past the first
Yeah,
I don't know 8, 9, 10 players, it starts getting really ugly really quick. And Brees Hall kind of falls just outside of that as like the running back 13. Like to me, if I was doing a startup right now, I would probably grab probably 2 of those top couple guys, or
yeah.
at least 1, and then I'm waiting and I'm not touching that middle group of like Brees
Well,
Hall, Kyron, Javante, Travion, Henry, Chase Brown. Like it just feels like you're just
yeah.
destined to get
Agree 100%
hurt.
because like we felt like we were super high on a Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Travis Etienne, but who's above all those guys? Javante Williams, right? And so
Yeah.
it's the running back landscape is crazy, and so for me, yeah, I'm worried about Brees Hall, right? I don't know off the top of my head his contract situation, but I'm assuming he's in year 4, I think,
Yeah, he's got
and
one more
so
year left.
they might, I don't know if they have already, but pick up that fifth year option, and then maybe they move on, right? And so
Yeah. So
I
oh, he actually doesn't have a 5th-year option. Because he was a 2nd-round pick, so they don't have it. He's actually a free agent next year.
so this offseason he's free agent.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's probably why people didn't want to pay, because he would just have been a rental. So it makes a little more sense with the trading.
It does.
People don't want to pay, but I think you could, if you would have traded for him, you might have had a little more like option to pay him a little cheaper than off the free market. But he's definitely in now that knowing that he's definitely going to go to a new team.
I would
So
say
I
knowing
100%,
that actually
yeah,
makes me want to acquire him, right?
yeah,
Because I'm like, realistically, where would he go where his value drops outside of the Jets? Like,
yeah. The
can you think of a
only,
worse situation for him to be in?
I mean, outside of him going to a team that already has a running back like Jonathan Taylor, like the main
Sure.
guys, then yes. But there's only, I don't know, probably 8 teams that you'd be like, crap, that's
Yeah.
a bad landing spot. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, there's not a ton of great running backs coming in 26 class. I'll take
Just Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love and a couple others before Brees Hall. But outside of that, I still think at the most he would still be a running back 2 easily. So
What would you say is needed to acquire him? Like, could you get him for a playoff first right now? Or do you
that's
need
what I was
more?
just thinking in my head. Probably a little bit more, right? You probably need a playoff first and either a second or a player.
Hmm.
But that could be just because I've always
Yeah.
been a little bit higher on Brees Hall than some people. But
Yeah,
here,
I'm
let me
just
pull
trying
let
to
me
look.
pull
It
up here.
looks like
Yeah.
he's valued right around a mid first right now.
Yeah, then
You check
I would send a
so a
I
1
would
and a 2, like a late 1 and 2.
yeah, I would try a late one and go from there. If you need to
Yeah,
add a
that's
little
fair.
bit, like
I just
probably can get a first and second for sure, and maybe you can get away with a first and a third.
because let's say he hits the open market, the Bears come to mind as like a team that really needs a running back upgrade off of DeAndre Swift. I think Breece Hall would fit really well in that system. I think they would use him super
Absolutely.
great. Early first for Breece, a wide
Vikings, like,
receiver.
there's
Yeah, Vikings could use one.
plenty of teams that I could think of as well. So
Yeah. All right. So I think we covered that decently. I was just kind of pulling through some of the trade database today and like kind of what are people doing? What are some moves that you might be able to make? The one I kind of handed out earlier, but Daniel Jones for 26 first. I don't know where that first was. Pat Bryant, whatever, dude. That dude bites. But so it's basically a first for Daniel Jones. Like,
yep.
I like that in the sense that I know he had a bad game this week, but I feel like the Colts making that trade where they sent 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner tells me that they're going to sign Daniel Jones as their quarterback. I don't think you do that deal unless you felt like, okay, this is our quarterback. This is the guy we're going to go with. He's in a great situation. Now, I know this has happened before. He got a contract and he went pumpkin. This is a much better situation in Indianapolis. Is a more competent coaching staff, offensive line. I would send a 26 first for Daniel Jones pretty much everywhere. I don't unless it's like, I don't know, like a top like 3 or 4 pick. I think I would say that.
Agreed. Yeah. So I have no problem acquiring Daniel Jones. I know he's very like, either you hate him. I don't know if too many people love him. But he just has a stench, but he's playing really well. And there's only so many good, quarterbacks, right? They're a lot of them are getting injured. There's, Marcus Mariota starting, Jacoby Brissett starting. So for me, and if you think about the quarterbacks coming out next year, a lot of question marks there as well.
A lot of questions.
So if you feel like you're sending that, anywhere 26 mid to late, I think you're feeling pretty good about getting a Daniel Jones for that.
I do. The other one that kind of caught my eye on this too was DJ Moore. He's been pretty bad all year. I think if you could cash out on DJ Moore with a 2 for a 2 and a 3, even if those are late, and you send a 4, like that feels like a good move that I would do. Like he's not helping your team right now.
I was surprised he didn't get traded.
Same, actually.
But I think the main thing is like people don't want to send anything for him. I think they would just wait and like sign him off the free agent versus sending anything for him. I'm talking about in NFL terms. But I agree. Yeah, if you can get yourself a second and third, or a second or even a third in a player. I have I have DJ Moore on, unfortunately, too many teams, and I haven't really thought about moving him because you're going to just get a second and third type of thing. But I think if you do get that, take it every day, just because I don't know the what to think of DJ Moore moving forward.
No, I agree. So I was just pulling up his contract real quick too. He has one more season where he's owed quite a bit of dead cap money if they were to cut him or move on from him. So he'll probably be a Bear in 2026 unless they get a trade deal done. Then he's going to hit the free agent market, and then he's probably he's already kind of aging. Like that might be his last big contract. He might go somewhere as a role player. But Mark Andrews is the other one I wanted to touch on for 26-2. This was tight end premium. I don't know how many tight end starters were there. I'm assuming just the one. Mark Andrews has been really feast or famine pretty much his whole career. He is a unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. I would say if he goes anywhere outside of Baltimore, I don't love it for him. I think Lamar Jackson's always had a really high touchdown rate. Mark Andrews has usually been on the receiving end of that. If he goes somewhere else, he might be unusable in Dynasty. And I kind of the opinion where I'm kind of done with Mark Andrews. And if I can just re-roll and take a tight end next year in the second and hope for the best, I think I'm to that point. What do you think about that?
Same here. Even going into the season this year, I was kind of like, ooh, are we going to get the same Mark Andrews? Are we going to get more of Isaiah Likely? And I know he was banged up a little bit, but we saw it last week. Isaiah Likely makes the big splashy plays. And unfortunately, Mark Andrews is good only if he gets a touchdown. And, even if he goes to another team and, you never know if he's going to get the touchdown or not. And so I think sometimes he just gets not necessarily lucky, but they're in the red zone and he's the big target there because the next guy after that is, they'll run it in with Lamar or Derrick Henry. And then, Zay Flowers is not the type of guy you're going to look for in the red zone. So he's their main red zone guy. But that may shift if he goes to another team. Right. So I'm with you. I was kind of out on Andrews like going into this year a little bit, and he gets too many zeros for me to be like, okay, I'm okay holding on to him.
No, for sure. The other trade here, Colson Loveland, he had his breakout game. Last week, he had 6 catches, 118 yards, and 2 tutties, including the game winner. Are you buying the breakout, or was that kind of a product of Cincinnati just forgetting how to play defense for?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like even if you took out that second touchdown, he had a great game. And so I was Cole Kmet injured, or was he out? That I think he was back. No, he was out.
Yeah, no, or he's got hurt again.
Yeah, so if he's out, then I feel really really good about Colson Loveland. But in general, right, he's still a top 10 tight end. Young. He was the first tight end drafted. I know, Tyler Warren's playing extremely well. But some people, going into the draft, they thought Loveland was the better tight end, right? It's just taking some time. I think one other thing with Loveland is he was injured, right? And so he didn't get the full ramp up in the offseason. So I think he's kind of finally getting back up to speed, learning everything he needs to with his routes and everything. And then also Cole Kmet got injured. So I'm buying the breakout per se, but I'm not necessarily going out and buying Loveland. That price is kind of high for me because I feel like there's a lot of weapons there for Chicago, and Rome Odunze had a 0, which I don't think is going to happen very often.
It's happened a couple times already.
It has, yeah.
I'm back on the I hate Rome train.
I'm okay with that.
Putting it out there. Kenneth Walker, I put one of his trades on here, not because of this particular trade, but because I want to get to him on this next year. So he is arguably, so these are names to watch. Probably could have worded it better. These are all unrestricted free agents next year. Kenneth Walker is the one that I really wanted to talk about here because I think he's the best running back on this list, at least from a talent-wise, a home run hitting kind of running back-wise. Seattle, he doesn't really fit their current offensive scheme. I mean, that's pretty evident by them using Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker, I think, is a guy that, similar to like a Javonte Williams, not quite as value depressed as Javonte Williams was last year, but Kenneth Walker is a guy that I could see being a really savvy buy if you can get him for any kind of a second round pick next year, hoping he goes somewhere better. Clearly Seattle's not the fit for him. I mean, similar to what we were talking about, right, with Breece Hall. If he goes to really a running back room outside of the top handful of guys, he's pretty clearly their number one guy. Do you agree with that? Or on these running backs, who would you kind of target, knowing that either hoping they re-sign their current team or that they go to a new team and they maybe have an improved situation?
Yeah, out of those names for sure, Kenneth Walker is the one that sticks for me. Travis Etienne maybe, and then Javonte Williams. I mean, he's playing well on a team that isn't great, but I know their offensive line is good, so that could be a little bit of why he's doing well. I would assume he has played his way into another contract with the Cowboys. I don't know for sure because of the way the Cowboys do things. But easily out of that group of running backs, I'm going with Kenneth Walker. I just think he is the best running back out of that group there, the best player. And yeah, if he was on a different team, he'd easily be a running back, a top 10 running back right now. The kind of couple of the names that I think he could easily, maybe not top 10, but he's all the way down at running back 20, but he could definitely be over Chase Brown, over RJ Harvey. I think every day of the week, someone would rather have Kenneth Walker than Javonte Williams. Cam Scatabo was playing super well. Travion Henderson still up at running back 15. So those names right there, I would take Kenneth Walker on any other team. And sometimes I'd take him over RJ Harvey where he is now. So I just think I'm with you 100%. If he's on another team that uses him correctly, he's going to give you much more than what you like buy for.
I agree, and I think Travis Etienne is one that I feel like his situation and his role is more likely to go down on an offense than it is to go up. I also feel like this probably is good for Bashal Tootin. They've been getting him more and more involved, and I haven't been overly impressed with Tootin, but knowing that ETN is a free agent and might not come back to Jacksonville next year, I think Tootin might be a sneaky buy. Javante, I think he resigns in Dallas.
Yep.
Uncle Rico, he's been the best running back in Carolina, but they invested so much into Chuba Hubbard. I don't know if they can bring him back. That's the one that scares me a little bit because I feel like he's a guy that I don't know. Like he was kind of nothing in Dallas, and then he had a really good year. Now he's kind of playing himself into a good role again. He's the one that scares me as like he's kind of like a ticking bomb on your roster. Like I don't know. What are your thoughts on Rico and any of the other names on this
Yeah,
list?
so I think Rico will go to another team, right? I don't know. It's tough though because he's playing so well. So I could see them going both ways. Is like, okay, sorry, Chuba, you got your money, but you're like Rico's obviously better. So I don't know, but if Rico Dotto's on another team, I think he thrives in a situation where he's not the primary guy. So like as we saw it right in the Cowboys, he was not great after he was the main guy. Kind of the same thing as like Tony Pollard, right? They don't really thrive as the top running back. So he's definitely a name to watch. It's going to be hard to acquire him now, but I do think he, like will be useful wherever he goes. And then
Yeah.
ETN, I would say the same thing, right? I think right now he's doing well because of the situation and where he is. I do think he's moving on. And I think, you could go out and buy him, but I think he's got to end up on that perfect situation again.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of done with the Travis Etienne experiment.
Yeah.
It hasn't been my favorite ride I've been on. I think kind of looking at some of the wide receivers and tight ends, some of the names that I think make obvious sense to try to move on from Pickens, Dubs, and Kyle Pitts for different reasons. I think George Pickens and Kyle Pitts are having some of their best years because they're in a contract year trying to earn that contract. Pickens in particular worries the hell out of me that like once he gets that contract that he's going to check out again.
Yep.
He's been on his best behavior in Dallas. I
Kind of.
worry that goes away. I mean, mostly as good as he can get for Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, I still really like him, but I'm with you 100%, right? It worries me like he's the type of player that like I got my money, I'm good. I'm going to be like I'll have a lingering injury here. I'm not going to show up here. I'm going to hold out if I need to type of guy. It's just he doesn't, he's not the lunch pill type of guy that I think I don't like. He always carries extra baggage, right? And then Romeo Dobbs is also another guy that kind of worries me because he is on that perfect situation. Jordan Love loves him right now. Debo, pretty old. Juwan Jennings, like all the guys on this list right here. I mean, Jacoby Myers. I mean, George Pickens is obviously the best one out of that group there on the wide receivers, but all of them worry me. I don't feel really good about any of those guys. And then for the tight ends there, like same thing. They're all kind of older or either like a Kate Otton's like in a great situation. I'm assuming he'll come back on like a team friendly deal. And then I do like Isaiah Likely. I just worry about his blocking. I don't know if he like they can't.
Yeah.
They're always going to need another tight end. So his like output is kind of capped.
I agree. And Likely, I feel like he's been a guy that, like, for the last like 3 years, everyone's been like, man, just wait until Andrews is gone and Likely's going to be great. And it's like, even when Andrews is out, like, Likely has had moments, but still, like, he's very up and down.
Yeah. And for me, he's a wide receiver, right?
Basically.
When in the offseason, I talk about it a lot with the, tight end rookies coming in. But if you can't block, you're not going to stay on the field. And I think that's part of the issue with Likely. He's on the field when they're in the red zone, but he's not the guy that's going to be bleeding out a little bit after, puts a block in, that's going to be Mark Andrews, or they're going to have to find another guy. So like he'll always, not always, but he'll get those big, catch and runs in the middle of the field. But I just don't know how many touchdowns likely he's going to get you.
Yeah, I think for guys like Dallas Goedert and George Pickens right now, and really Dobbs to an extent, I think the play that I would want to go with those guys is that like maybe sell for a little bit less than their pick value and try to get a vet that maybe can help compensate some of those points. So you're not necessarily hurting your your points scored, but you're kind of
Yeah.
insulating yourself from the risk of because like Goddard, like he's getting older. He already kind of it was questionable whether he's going to come back to Philly. He ended up taking a team friendly deal to come back this year. I don't know if he's going to do that again. He could just be done. Like he's
Yeah.
older. He's had a pretty lengthy career injury. Those are the kind of and like Dobbs, dude. Like they drafted Golden out of the ones that they had. They just chose to re-sign Christian Watson. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe they get a deal done with Dobbs. Maybe they don't. Maybe he's gone. I really worry about that because him and Jordan Love is such a good rapport. Like
Yeah,
some of those
I'm with
guys,
you.
man, I don't know. They worry me. Njoku's one that I have a little bit of hope that he might see a value spike. He's
Yeah, if he
very
goes,
I feel like he could be an increase value at pretty much anywhere he goes. I would assume
yeah,
outside of
100%. Because like he's already useful in Cleveland with the 1,000 different
Fannin.
quarterbacks they've used with him,
Yeah,
and then also
exactly.
Fannin is there. And for me, he's still a top. Like
Like a
he's at
top.
tight end 20 right now, right? So like
Is he
that
that far down?
he's missed some games and a little bit injured, and like a lot of the guys that are above him, like I'll take him over them. Elijah Arroyo, Brenton Strange,
Man,
Theo
tight end 20
Johnson,
is crazy, dude.
Isaiah Likely. I'll take him over Goddard. I think kind of stops there. So that would be like tight end 14, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think he can increase even more if he does land on a great situation.
Like, let's say Travis Kelce retires and
Yeah,
Njoku goes to the Chiefs. Like, if you acquire, obviously, this is like an evergreen statement, but like, if you send a mid to late second round pick for Njoku right now, which I think is feasible, I think that gets done.
yeah,
Dude, I feel like it could very easily just get better for him than it could to stay neutral or get worse. Like, I feel like it's more likely for him to be in a better situation. So
yep, agreed.
that's all I got tonight. Any last thoughts, Holler, before we sign off?
Nope. I just was going through my leagues last night a little bit, and the waiver wire is pretty most of it's all,
Sparse.
yeah, all dynasties, so it's pretty sparse, right? So you got to go out there and try to make some trades. No trades for me this week yet. Hoping I can spark something up before tomorrow. But the biggest thing is always trying to make moves, right? And you don't always have to get picks. You can get players that are injured. Just see how I know there's question marks when you get a player that's injured, but it could put you in a better spot next year. So
Tell you what,
just stay active.
I've been trying to get some Tyreek Hill thrown in on deals on rebuilders, obvious rebuilds, because it's like he's not really valued at much. And like if he happens to come back, great. If he doesn't, well,
Yeah,
he's
you can
not
flip
scoring
them.
any points. So like, who cares?
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that a lot because I always try to get injured players on a rebuild because the second they get step back on the field, well, one, they're not giving you any points this year. And then
Yeah.
two, the second they step back on the field, as long as they're not super old, they're going to increase in value. Like even like a Tyreek Hill, someone will be like, "Oh, I want Tyreek Hill. I believe in him." Like there'll be somebody in your leagues, and if he has a good game next year, he's back on the field, scores a touchdown and 50 yards, whatever. Someone's going to go out and be like, "Oh, I'll take him for a second or whatever," and you've already made your money back.
Yeah, even not even like a game, even if he has like a training camp highlight.
Yeah.
Like let's not forget how thirsty people get for some good camp highlights come
Yep.
come early August. So
Absolutely.
just keep that in mind as you're negotiating your rebuilds or whatnot. But we should have a good week of football here, and good luck to your teams. And hopefully we don't get any more big name injuries, and we can escape with it's already getting hard enough. So hopefully we can keep that going, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.
Peace.